Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Hope with me, your host, Catherine Abraham. I'm exceptionally excited today, and as I was thinking about what I would talk to you, it just so happens that a 2-year journey has finally come to an end, only to give rise to new beginnings. Needless to say, it's been a very tough 2 years for me. So what was all this about? I started my writing career a couple of years ago at the insistence of my best friend, who said that she wanted me to write her a novella for her birthday. She gave me a deadline. I had to complete it by May. She gave me this deadline in the month of February, and I was a month shy of my final year law examinations. I took it up as a challenge. I went ahead, I wrote my first book entitled Yesterday Once More. It's very freely available even today. And it was at this time that I discovered an entirely new side of me, one that had been as yet left unexplored. And I told myself, why can't I write more? And so I began writing short stories. I began to write essays. I wrote for different publications, small ones, big ones. Whenever there was a competition, I'd go ahead, register myself, send in my essays. I was very happy. And then one afternoon, I got a call from somebody who was actually going forward and preparing an international literature festival in Pune, which happens to be my hometown currently. I was beyond thrilled. I told myself this was an amazing opportunity to connect with different types of authors, of course, editors, publishers, needless to say, young people like me who were part of the audience as well. And I immediately signed up for it as a volunteer. While we were brainstorming one afternoon with the director of the literature festival, I happened to meet another gentleman who was sitting there observing what I was saying, but very quiet. After a while, I was introduced to him. He was a literary agent. I was told that he'd been doing quite a good job in New Delhi. And I said, all right, would you like to read my poem? It was around that time I had written a poem called The Captain of My Heart. I went ahead, gave it to him, and he absolutely loved it. This is where he asked me if I was into writing stories as well. And I said, yes, of course, I do. And I humbly submitted that I was also a published author. Of course, I was just published in digital format. And he said, doesn't matter. I'd like to have a look. And I went ahead and just emailed the PDF to him. Again, it was welcomed, and he asked me if I would be willing to write another fiction. I started writing that night, only to finish 45 days later, a complete 265 odd pages book. And I submitted it, and I said, here's my first draft, have a look. He was absolutely amazed. He hadn't read a story like that before. And by and large, the reason why it met with that kind of acceptance is because I was highlighting something people were refusing to talk about. And that is the India-Pakistan relations. So this was a romance fiction. There was drama, there was intrigue, there was everything, every element that you could possibly think of. And it was clean fiction, so anyone could really read it. The book was accepted. Everything went well. I was happy. I was absolutely thrilled. The book launch went amazing. My mother, for the very first time, was going off to Delhi for her daughter's book launch. My father, of course, having stayed there, was quite aware of the scenario. We came back very happy. Fast forward a couple of months later, and I started with the next one, which was called Some Days of Forever. Again, it was launched in a digital format on Amazon. When it came to book 4, however, I don't know what happened. Things seemed to just stop. I did extensive research, went ahead, got in touch with people from across the border, got into villages, in fact, thanks to technology and communication, made friends with a lot of with a lot of people across the border. And that's when I began to learn about the shared history, the shared culture in detail about these two countries. So, where's the problem, you'll ask? Despite finishing the book 2 years ago, in February 2019, I knew for a fact that I had given my all. I had written, it was absolutely different from all other books I'd read on this particular topic. And in fact, it was something that was beyond anyone's thought. And I had it previewed, I had it reviewed, I got everything done, including, believe it or not, including the cover design. And I have this habit of ensuring that I design my own covers. And despite all of that, I was met by rejection, and I was like, why? And this was, by the way, not a rejection purely because there was a flaw in the book or there was a flaw in my writing, which I would have gladly and humbly accepted. The problem was that I did not have a literary agent. My former literary agent was already out of the business. He'd moved on, and I just didn't have anyone to represent me. For the brief period that someone represented me, I was left in the dark. I had no idea what was happening, and I finally let go of her as well. And so again, it was down to zero. I was frustrated, I was angry, and I kept telling myself, I am not getting into the self-publishing mode. Now, for those of you who do not know about the two types of publishing in the industry, it's obviously the traditional publications where you go ahead vis-a-vis a literary agent, very few publishing houses accept unsolicited manuscripts. You submit it to them, they go through it, they get back to you. There's a round of discussions and so on and so forth until the book finally comes out. And then there's the second more popular way of doing things is where you go ahead, pay somebody, get the book in the market. So my entire idea was, why do I need to pay for something I am doing for everyone? I'm writing for someone else. I'm writing for an audience. And I love what I do. I don't want to pay someone for that. And I was quite resilient. I was quite stubborn. And I told myself I was not going the self-publishing way. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months. Absolutely no sign either of a literary agent or of a publishing house. Finally, when I got in touch with, thanks to a couple of good friends of mine who shared with me some contacts, I went ahead, sent out all of these people my synopsis. I sent them a couple of chapters. I said, why don't you just get back to me? Many didn't even bother to reply. And that's the disappointing part of the Indian publishing industry in particular. I'm not very sure about the ones across the globe. And I was beginning to lose hope. It's ironic because I'm talking about it on my podcast, which is called Chasing Hope. I was technically supposed to be chasing hope. But after a year, I almost began to give up. And I said, all right, let's just get back to it whenever I have the time. So I'd probably send a mail, maybe first, initially I sent it twice a month, then that became once a month, then it became once in 3 months. And then I lost my mother. And that became this entire before and after scenario. So before, when she was alive, she would tell me, I really want to see this book in people's hands. And that was one of her wishes, because I had gone ahead, I had told her the entire story when she was unwell, and she was absolutely thrilled that I had come up with something so beautiful. And she told me, this is something I could never imagine. And that coming from my mother, who's quite critical of my works, was beyond, of course, every compliment that I can receive from anyone. And so after her passing, I made it a point. I said, no, I need to get this book out there. It has to be in people's hand by 2021. And so I hit the restart button. It's an exceptionally difficult task when you've almost given up hope, and I had every reason to just ditch that book, move ahead, go write another one. But I said, no, I'm going to get this book out in the market. And so I again started the process. This time more vigorously. I started following it up. Finally, I said, I'm not going to wait anymore. I roped in a few people. Nothing happened. I just went ahead and shot an email to a publishing house in the US. I did that in the month of December. And since it was Christmas, I told myself, let's just wait. It's too early. I think it'll take a month or so. After a month, I mailed them again. I got no reply. Again, I sent up a follow-up, no reply. And then, just a day ago, I landed myself not just a contract for this particular book in the traditional publishing format, but I won myself an entire series. So basically now, I will not just be writing another book, I'll be writing a series of books. I cannot tell you how blessed I am. But let me also tell you that just before all of this, the other day I was really, really upset. I was on the verge of tears and I said, why? Why is all this happening to me? I've never left my faith. I've not done anything bad. I've not thought negatively for anyone or for myself. Then why is all this happening to me? And just when you think that God left your hand, here's what came up. It said, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." This verse is still in my notifications bar. I'm not ready yet to swipe it off. Jeremiah 29:11. This was my rescue point. How beautiful that God is listening. He's not left me. He just wanted me to know that He was listening to me. And what better than to come up with one of the most powerful verses in the Bible to just pop up into my notifications list. And now I can say with confidence that I know everything from this point onward will just be getting better. I'm not going to look back. I'm not going to look at that 2-year period which has finally come to a close. I'm going to remember these days when I found the answer to my prayer in a simple notification. God is in the silences, and I keep saying that. But we have to go forward and search for His signs. It's not a joke, it's not a lie. It's what happened to me. I hope this entire episode has been inspiring enough for you to pick up your Bibles. Of course, those of you who do not belong to the faith, I hope you found it inspiring enough to get back to your faith and reconnect with the divine. If you are going through an exceptionally tough time, just know you're not alone. There are a lot of people like you who are facing their own battles and doing it with a smile on their face. So don't give up, don't give in. And thank you for tuning in today. I do look forward to you sending me your prayer requests. You can also look at our website www.chasinghopewithkatherine.com for our earlier episodes. And if there's anything specific that you'd like me to cover in the forthcoming subsequent episodes, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to address them. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you, and definitely I hope you tune in to the next episode. Have a wonderful week.